So this is really the only part of the job that I do. I, for the most part, don't work with buyers, and we have found something that has worked for us, and we have not had to change our marketing plan and things like that for a long, long time because what we have works. And until the day that we feel it doesn't work, and with social media and AI and stuff like that, there may be some changes that we'll have to do, but the first thing, and I know Cheryl's already heard this, is the first thing that you need to know is kind of there's basically three bits of information that a seller wants to know. And these are the things you just want to have in your head. They want to know three pieces of information. Okay. The other part too is if you're interested, I actually have an outline of these 5 steps and things like that. And if you want a copy, we're trying to figure out a way to share it. Kathy, I'm going to tell you, Kathy couldn't figure it out. It wasn't me. Couldn't figure out. It was Kathy.
There's a way, but it doesn't work.
But seriously, if you want a copy of the outline or something like that, just let us know. But there's 3 things that a seller wants to know. The first thing, obviously, is what is my house worth? Okay. Just go right to it. What's my house worth? They've got so much information coming in. You've got AVMs, you've got Zillow, you got Redfin, you've got this, that, and the other thing. So they think that they know, okay, but they don't. Okay, you don't know what you don't know, and that's one of the reasons what we have to give them the information. So what's my house worth? The second one is what am I going to net from the sale of my home? So if you sell my home and it sells for X amount of dollars, what am I going to walk away with? Just bottom line, what am I going to walk away with? And I know for the longest time, there's a lot of realtors that don't do estimation of proceeds. They tell them what the house is worth. They might go over the value proposition, but they do not do an estimation of proceeds. And I think that is a huge, huge mistake. Anyone that doesn't do an estimation of proceeds, to me, is not professional. But if it's a friend or something like that, even if it's my family or anything like that, I do an estimation of proceeds because that, and we're usually within a couple of dollars. So because that also brings up here are the fees in a real estate transaction. And then that will allow you also to have the commission talk if you need to have the commission talk. But as Kathy knows, I have to talk about commission 10% of the time where it even comes up. I say, this is the fee that I charge. Do you want to make an offer of compensation to the buyer's agent? I get pushback maybe 10% of the time. So I know a lot of people that you hear so much about this, but if you go through and do these steps, and Kathy knows I'm the worst closer in the world. I'm a horrible closer. This is my close. After I go through all that information, how does that sound? Does that sound about what you're looking for? Do you have any questions about, my marketing plan? No, you're very thorough. Are you ready to rock and roll? Are you ready to go? That's my close. And I close 90% of my deals because I've done all the stuff prior to that statement. Okay. So the only reason I'm bringing any of that stuff up is for validity and credibility. Oh, the last one, sorry. So, what's my house worth? What do I net? What makes you different than any other realtor? What are you going to do to expose my home that another realtor cannot do? What makes you special? Why should I hire you? And that really comes down to your marketing plan or your value proposition. And that's another thing that if you want to see a copy of our marketing plan, it's not, it's not fancy at all, but in the presentation, what I say and what I go over, it covers every single basis of marketing. Okay. So any questions about those 3 things? Because those are important. Those are what the seller wants to know. And I used to do a 2-step listing appointment where I'd go do a walkthrough, get all the information, then I'd come back a second time. Okay. And then what I found out is the sellers were like, why? you don't need to do that. You don't know the market well enough where you have to come back a second time. So I'd say 25 years ago, I stopped doing a two-step process. I bring my comparable sales with me. I analyze those right in front of them and go over, and it's a one-step process. And I get more listings doing a one-step process than back when I did two-step process. So, but you need to know those three pieces of information. Okay. So let's say you've done all this marketing, you've done a geographical farm, or a friend has recommended to you, and someone calls you and they say, "Hey, Vixen, my name is David Mueller. I got your name from such and such. I want to sell my home." Okay. This this is going to be the first step, is that first phone conversation. Okay. Because let me tell you another thing that almost every single seller wants, is, I don't care if it's the CEO of a major, 500 corporation, or if it's someone selling a $40,000 house. They want you to take this job off their hands. They don't want to do it. They're not going to they don't want to they don't want to micromanage you. They want to give you this, but you need to establish trust, credibility, and validity with them. And it starts with the initial phone call. Okay. So what I do on that initial phone call is I kind of go over what their situation is. And here's a little tip or a trick too, that let's say you get a call from an area, from a seller that wants to sell their home, and you're not necessarily really familiar with that particular neighborhood or that particular area. One of the suggestions I have is two things. One is, let's say it goes to voicemail, they leave their message, they leave the address, and they want you to call them back. Make sure you look up that address, pull the information, but the other thing is pull the cross streets from where the house is located as well. And when you call them back and they say, "Well, do you do much business in Redford, Michigan?" It's, "Oh, yeah. I mean, I think you're located right near, Max in Champion Street, right?" "Oh, yeah, it's exactly there." But you want to make it look like you know that area. Most of the time, you're going to be getting calls from someone where you know the area. But those are little tricks. So I used to only sell in Washington County. Now I'll drive an hour because we all have this information available to us now. But they want to know that you understand that area. The other thing that I really do up front is I kind of control the conversation. Okay. You get the information. "Oh, so tell me a little about your house, and tell me about tell me about the house. Where's it located? How many bedrooms? How many baths? What kind of updates do you have?" And you ask a lot of questions. Do ask a lot of questions. Okay. And then, because this is your chance to be able to start bonding with them right now. You want to start bonding with them and establishing rapport with that initial phone call. That's going to be extremely important as you move forward through the 5 steps. Okay. And then the other part is when you're asking a lot of questions, and they'll say, "And we've got an in-ground pool," or something like that. Say, "Oh my gosh, really? You got an in-ground pool? That's wonderful. I've got several clients that have wanted pools, and we can't find anything with them." But just have a really good conversation with them. But the
people in Florida or California are cracking up. What do you mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been trying to. I've got someone right now that wants to buy a pool. They're 1 million to 1.5 million, and we've lost out on 3 transactions, and they want a pool. And they're the one person in Michigan that wants a pool, but actually there's one of 5 because we've already lost out 3. But the thing is that ask them all those questions. But here's what I really want you to try to do, is that I want you to start setting expectations of how the second appointment's going to go. Okay. So you ask them, give the information, kind of get a feel for what they have, and say, "Wow, it sounds wonderful. Let's schedule an appointment for me to come out and take a look at the house. It's really impossible for me to come up with the value and things like that until I see the house. What would be a good day for you?" and then just go right into that. It's not salesy. It's just, what's a good day for you? What day and time? And I'll make myself available. Tuesday, 2 o'clock. Wonderful. Heidi, let me tell you. So that's wonderful, Heidi. I can't wait to see you until at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. Here's kind of the process, Heidi, is what I'm going to want to do when I get there is I'm going to want to do a walk through the property with you. Okay. That's going to help me get a feel for the amenities that the house has. And then the other thing that in the condition, and the other thing it's going to also help us do is I'm going to make suggestions if I see something that would be good to improve the value of the house. Okay, Heidi? After we walk through the house and I get accustomed to the house and get familiar with the house, then we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about the houses that have sold, comparable sales that have sold, and then we're also going to look at houses that are currently on the market. And the reason we do that, Heidi, is when we look at the solds, we've got to sell a house twice. We have to sell a house to a buyer. We also have to sell a house to the appraiser. So we need to make sure that we've got comparable sales that are going to be relevant and they're going to help us be able to have the house appraised. Now, the solds are going to give us the range of where we're looking at. Then we're going to look at what's currently on the market. And everything in life, Heidi, comes down to supply and demand. Okay? So if we have several other houses that are similar to yours and they're priced at a price that's below ours, that will affect where we go on the market. Okay? So we want to look at the solds. And then the other thing, Heidi, that we're going to also discuss is we're also going to talk about your motivation. You just got a job, you need to sell, hey, this can't take more than 2 weeks. Where you're going to price that in that range is going to be different than, hey, Dave, I want to put it on the market. I've got 60 days to get it sold. That's going to also affect. So list price, and we'll talk about that, depends on 2 factors. It's supply and demand, motivation of seller. Okay? That's going to determine where in the range that you go at. And sometimes pricing at the lower end is even the better strategy, even if they're not, real motivated. Because we can tell them from our experience, 10 out of 10 times we sell a house for more money when we price it mid to bottom of the range and create a multiple offer situation. Okay? So Heidi, after we do that, then go over the information, we come up with a price, we come up with a range that we're both comfortable with, then I'm going to do an estimation of proceeds for you. Okay? And what that's going to do is we're going to go through and just get down to brass tacks. This is what you're going to net from the sale of the home if we sell it for X amount of dollars. Does that make sense, Heidi? Lastly, we're going to go over the marketing plan, or I also call it why I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. But we're going to go over what makes DMA stand out from our competition. And I don't know what other people do. I don't go on their listing appointments, but I do know what I do. And I'm going to show you all these different things that we do to market the home. Does that make sense? So Heidi, that will be, how does that all sound to you, Heidi? Would that be all right for us to do all those things when we do the appointment? Okay. So I am taking control. I am being assertive. I am setting the expectation up front. But also, what am I doing? Someone just spout out. What am I also doing?
Controlling the conversation and guiding it.
And I'm also doing credibility and validity, because these sellers want someone that's going to come in and take. Let's say you're initially dating someone. Okay, let's use the dating thing, because I say all real estate transactions are dating. Whether you're working with a buyer or a seller, you're basically dating each other. Okay. From a standpoint, do you want someone that's going to be assertive and kind of say, hey, this is the date, this is what we're going to do. How does that sound to you? This is what they have, or as opposed to the ID. Why don't you pick where we go, and you don't mind if we split the bill, and because we don't know each other, and I mean anywhere is fine for me. And who would you rather date? And I hate to say that analogy, that's exactly what you're doing. And what am I also doing I'm creating energy. I'm creating, oh my gosh, this guy really sounds like he knows what he's doing. I can't wait to meet him in person. Hopefully he's not a dud. But you're creating that sense of anticipation, and they're already starting to feel comfortable with you because you're establishing rapport and credibility. Now, I've gone on a lot about that initial phone call, but you never get a second chance to make a first impression. You can lose the listing appointment on that initial phone call. Does that make sense? We spend all this money generating seller leads, and make no mistake about it. Whoever has the listings wins. You will always be more successful if you work with sellers, and sellers breed buyers. Period. End of story. 33 years, I'll tell you that. Okay? So why not be 100% prepared in this and be 100% ready to rock and roll when you go on that appointment, when you get the phone call? Does that make sense? Okay. So, and even if you're not an assertive person, okay, confidence. And there's a difference between cocky and there's difference between cocky and confident. Okay, confident to me is someone that's well prepared. They're ready. They know how to overcome objections. They're excited. They're going to do their homework on the comps and what's currently on the market. And before they walk in, they've got a pretty good idea of what that house is worth. They understand their value proposition. My value proposition, like I said, after I'm done with my value proposition, are you ready to rock and roll? That's how good my value proposition is and how it's delivered. Okay.
And that you
100% with my core. And I know there's not a realtor that will do a better job on that house than myself. And again, there probably is, but in my mind, I am the best person for that role. And as I tell anybody before they go on a listing appointment, if you don't fricking believe that you're the best person to list that house, don't walk into the appointment, because you are the best person for that. You just need to show the seller that you're that. All right. So the interesting part is you probably think, well, I have to have a personality like Dave. Dave's an introvert. David is an introvert. So just keep that in mind. Okay. So that was step one, is that initial phone call. Did I beat that to death enough?
Yes.
Okay. What's the second one? It's that actual walkthrough. Okay. This is where we're going to double down and we're really going to build the credibility and validity and the rapport. So what I always do is when I walk in, I'll say, as we discussed on the phone, what I'd like to do initially is do a walkthrough of the house. And I'd love for you to take me on a tour of it. Okay. And I want you to point out all the things that you love about the house. Okay. I want you to tell me all the things that are truly special about the house. What's the one thing that everybody likes to talk about the most? Themselves. The number two is their house. Okay.
Your car.
Let them talk. Let them talk. And again, as Kathy will tell you, I need to take these lessons a little bit more. There's a reason God gives us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we listen twice as much. They will give you all the information you need to get that listing. Okay. But so when I'm doing the walkthrough, I'm having them, they're going through all the things that they love about the house. And I'm going, oh my God, that's off the hook. Oh my God, I love that. Buyer's going to love that too. But I'm also taking that as an opportunity. Let's say the carpet's dirty or needs to be replaced and things like that, is I am also going to take the opportunity, and I tell them up front in that call, is I'm also going to point out anything that I feel that you could do to improve the home that is going to exponentially increase the value. And again, I refer to them as lipstick on pig type improvements, which are small little improvements that will make a large impact. And typically those are flooring and painting, any staging type, decluttering. Those 3 are the 3 biggest ones that we run into. And I'll make those as well. Now, I'm going to bring up this point though too. What is the biggest hesitancy do you think you get from a seller when you're telling them that they need to replace carpet or paint or things like that? What do you think it actually is not that, Cheryl? I would think it is too, because I'll say if you've got the funds. Kathy, let's ask Kathy, what do you think is the biggest obstacle when they have to do those, when we're asking them to do those things? They don't want to schedule them. So guess what?
Deal with it.
So guess what? Every other realtor is going to tell them, that's on you. You've got to take care of it, stuff like that. What do we do, Kathy? And Kathy's our coordinator of all this. What do we do? I'm use the term, then I'll tell what I say is, hey, Cheryl, and I know that I saw the look on your eyes when I said we might need to do some paint, some carpet. I totally understand. It's not something you want to do. You don't want to take on another job. I understand that's why I'm here as well. What I can do, Cheryl, is I can get our contractors out. I've got someone on my team that will schedule everything, coordinate with them. And then all you have to do, Cheryl, is if you've got the funds, and I'm going to tell you what the difference will be if you make that improvement, and you're going to pay for that improvement one way or another, Cheryl. You're going to pay for it either in reduction in price, or you're going to make the improvement up front. But guess what you get when you do the improvement, Cheryl? You get the psychological benefit of the improvement, along with you have 10 buyers looking at a house that needs improvements. You might have 3 people that might be interested in that house. You do the improvements and you have 10 people walk through the house after the improvements. Guess how many people are going to be interested? Probably 7 or 8. So what you just did is you enlarged your buyer pool. Does that make sense? And then if you can enlarge your buyer pool, more showings you get, the more offers you get, the more they're going to compete against each other, the more money you're going to get. But what we do is we say, we'll take care of all that for you. We'll schedule people to come out and give you quotes. If you give the thumbs up, we'll get them scheduled. All you have to do is get them paid. Whereas most realtors aren't going to do that. And Kathy's really good. And and we've got our list of contractors. How many times do we do that?
Every time almost, unless it's a brand new house. Yeah, we deal with it almost always because buyers don't want to do anything.
Nope.
Nothing.
And well, sellers don't either. And so, if we show them, hey, Cheryl, this is probably, I'm just going to give you a ballpark. It's probably going to cost us $7,000 to do the carpet and the paint. And my prediction for, it's really hard to put an exact dollar amount, but I think it'll get $15,000 to $20,000 more for the house. And sometimes it's hard to quantify it, but what it will do, though, is it will enlarge your buyer pool. And in doing so, if we can create multiple offer situation, and if we have more people interested, the chances of getting top dollar are much better exponentially. Does that make sense, Cheryl? And most of the time we get buy-in, but sometimes our clients don't have the money. So, now they're coming out with new programs where they can get paid at closing and things like that. We don't have a lot of great opportunities here in Michigan to do that, but if you've got those, that's a great thing as well. But all through all of this, what we're trying to do is we're establishing rapport, but also, what do you think that does too when I say, hey, like this dresser that's next to the door here, lose it or put it over here on the back wall. Because what happens when you first walk in that door is it's going to feel claustrophobic to a buyer. We want to expand the feeling of it. So option 1, lose it, throw it in the garage, get a storage unit, put it on that back wall. And we'll go through and we'll make these suggestions as far as staging. And what does that do? Oh my God, Dave knows what he's talking about. He's telling us to do this, that, but that makes sense. That makes sense that it's opened up. That's kind of what I wanted to do, but my kid wanted that dresser there. And then, but what you're doing is you're establishing, again, credibility, validity, and that's what this is all about. So when you go to close, when you're the worst closer in the world, when you've already set up all the building blocks, where all you're saying is, are you ready to rock and roll? Okay, because we're establishing it from day one, the beginning of the phone call, then the walkthrough. Does this all make sense? And then the other thing is, do say good things about the things that they love. Okay, we go back and forth. I'm not a salesperson. She says the heck you aren't, and so we go back and forth about that. We are kind of salesy, but I will, especially if I like what the improvement. Most of the time, I'm sincere in saying, "Oh my God, that's gorgeous." But this is personal to them. Their house is personal. My home's personal to me. If you came in and started, dissecting my house, and you didn't do it correctly, we may have an issue. And so, golden rule, everything in life, golden rule. Talk to them like you'd want them to talk to you. Respect them like the way you want them to respect you. So what we're doing through all this call, that is we're building rapport. We're building validity and credibility. And the other thing we're doing is we're getting them to the point where, oh my God, this dude knows what he's talking about. And I already want to give him the listing now, because I just feel like he's just going to take this and he's going to run with it, and I'm just going to sit back. And my last thing on my marketing plan, I'm going to do the spoil the surprise. The last thing on my marketing plan is I go through all the things that we're going to do. We're going to make sure we contact we're going to make sure the inspection and this, that. The last words are, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, all you have to do are two things. All you have to do are two things. The first one is make the house as presentable as possible for showings. The second one is make it as easy as possible to show. Can you do those two things, Heidi? Can you do those two things for me? Sure, Dave. Yeah, sure. Guess what? Big ass shoulders. I will take care of everything else. Those are the only two things you need to do. Oh, I'm sorry, Heidi. One more thing. Don't be late for closing. Those are the only three things you have to do.
Miracle today.
All right. Makes sense? Validity, credibility. We're getting rapport. And if they're a prick, you may not want the listing, but you'll usually get that in the first call. All right. So 1, call. 2, walk through, establishing validity, credibility, repairs that might need to be done, complimenting them on the house, but really taking in the house so you can accurately tell the value. Step 3, this is where the tires hit the pavement, going over comparable sales. Make sure that you get local comps that are close by within the same school district, okay? Try not to go outside of school districts. If you can stay in a subdivision, wonderful. If you can find another similar subdivision, same school system, wonderful. But typically you can find enough comps within a mile, half mile. And that's how I do mine. I do mine on a, when I go look for my comps, I do a radius search. First, I start at a quarter mile. Then if I have to go past a half mile, I try not to go past a mile, but they got to be similar houses, okay? And you want to instantaneously lose credibility and validity, do a bad comp that's not comparable, things like that. All that you did in 1 and 2, you lost them. Cheryl, you look like you have a question.
I don't have a question, just a little comment, because you're talking about city comps. So
Yep.
I've been doing a bunch of country comps, and I had to go 5 miles out, but to get 6 acres or 10 acres, I had to go a lot farther out to find like for like.
Yeah, and so yeah, and that's a little bit different, but even then, I still like to. Like we live in the country, or I live in the country, kind of sort of Pinckney, Dexter, Michigan. Those areas, Whitmore Lake, kind of country. But the thing that I would do is I would try to be more like but use, like, let's say your house has 20 acres and you've got a good comp that has 5 acres. That I'd much rather make the adjustment for acreage than going too far out and not having schools and things like that. It's tougher to find the comps. And in those things in rural areas, I don't even do a radius search. I just go into the city or the school district and I'll just do 5 acres plus, 3,000 square foot plus, see everything that comes up. And that's a little bit different when you do the comps. The key though is getting comparable properties. And I've gone in after someone else and they say, well, Dave, that the other person didn't use any of these comps. And I'll say, do you mind me telling me which comps they used? And I look at the comps and it's just like, they weren't comps. And I mean, the whole reason that they brought up to me, because they didn't think they were the right comps either, right? So once you do that and you don't have the right comps, or you're not able to talk about what it had and what it didn't have, is you start losing credibility and validity. Okay. Know your comps. And then the other thing that's kind of in a little trick. So if you drop me in Florida today and I had to go on a listing appointment and there was a sale down the street, I would pull up what that transfer address was, and I would find out who the seller was. The seller was, obviously there's a new buyer. And then when I went for the listing appointment, I would kind of go in there and go, yeah, and this one is, 1234 Main Street, Johnson's house. You knew the Johnsons? I said, yeah, I never met them in person. I knew that they were the sellers and stuff like that. And little tricks like that where they go, oh my God, he knows this. He knows my neighborhood. If he knows that, then he must know my neighborhood. All right. Little tricks like that, but just giving you validity and credibility. But if you drop me into Florida today and I pulled the comps and I could come across like I knew that neighborhood better than anybody in that area. And you just dropped me. I just flew in the day before. Right. And I will come off like I know I'm talking about as well. We're establishing that validity, credibility, because we've already done it since step one. So the solds, like I said, that's going to give you your range. Okay. Now, I never ask somebody, what's your house worth? I think that's the biggest cop out and non-professional thing you can do is going, and I see this on all these TV shows or TikTok reels. They'll go, and what's your sense of what the value is before that they do their own market analysis? To me, that's bullshit. I'm the professional. I'm the one that should be coming up with the number, not asking them what they think their number is, with one caveat. So I go through the comps of what is sold, and I'll say, this is my range. How does that sound to you, Heidi? What were you thinking your house was worth? After I've already said this is the range, the price, and things like that, I'll go, Heidi, what do you think? What did you, before I walked in the door, what did you think your house was worth? If they say toward the high end of the range, but you're in the range, I mean, 1 out of 50 times is it outside that range, where they say, if I asked them that question. And then if it's at the top part of the range, go, yep, I can totally see that. But here's kind of, some strategy as well. You may want to go right here to try to get there, but the worst thing is when you say this is the range, and then the seller thinks we're $50,000 more than your range, because you're gonna have to do some fast footing, or it may just be a listing where it's gonna be an overpriced listing and you don't necessarily want it either. But I do ask them where they think the range is, okay? And then the next thing you want to do though is the supply and demand, okay? Here's what's currently on the market. Here's what's currently under sales contract. What's under sales contract is even a better indicator than what's currently active, other than that will be on the market if you're on the market, in a day or two. What's under contract though is it shows you that, depending if it's went on the market pretty quickly, it's probably going to be pretty close to list price. Okay. But competition, supply and demand determines everything. And then Heidi, what's the last part about list price that we talked about earlier? What are the two other factors? So one is competition. What's the other one? Putting you on the spot.
I don't know. I had to have a conversation, so I don't know if I missed it or not.
No problem. Anyone else know what the other one is?
Can I answer?
Yep, Kathy.
Motivation.
Motivational seller. So, yeah. So does that make sense though?
Not because I listened either.
Well, that's why she's rolling her eyes all the time. She's heard this a lot. But so the motivation aspect is, hey, Heidi, we want this sold pretty quickly. So I think then I would kind of say, yep, then I think we should go in the bottom part, the lower part of the range. And I would say, but just remember, Mr. and Mrs. Seller too, is by going the lower part of the range, we're not looking to sell for less money. we're just going to be trying to create a competitive situation and, escalation clauses and appraisal gap language and stuff like that. Does that make sense, Heidi? Okay. So not picking on you either, Heidi. But so what we're doing is, and then between the competition, the motivation, you've gone through the range, you say, and then you kind of talk about, they'll even say, I think we'd like to go at 179.8. That's perfect. So the next thing I want to do, Cheryl, is let's do an estimation of proceeds. So let's say we sell it for $180,000. Let's see what you're going to net from the sale. And then we will go through the 4 fees, title policy, doc prep of a deed and bill of sale, commission. We go over that and we have that commission talk. We charge 3%. It's up to you if you want to make an offer of compensation. Let's go over the pros and the cons of making an offer of compensation. Okay. And that's what I do. I go over the pros and the cons and say it's totally up to you. But
do you all want to go over those pros and cons, or
do you want me to kind of handle that? Would that be helpful?
Sure, you got time.
Cheryl, you and I gonna do it? So Cheryl, so we've agreed on $180,000. Let's do this estimation of proceeds. So here's the 5 fees, then we go through the other 2. Now, Cheryl, regarding commission, we charge 3%. We've already gone over the marketing. We're going to go over the marketing plan next and everything like that. But we charge 3%, and it's up to you whether you want to make an offer of compensation to a buyer's agent. Now, let's talk about the pros and the cons. So up until about a year and a half ago, so for 32 years, it was my job, Cheryl, to negotiate commission for basically both the seller and the seller's agent and the buyer's agent. So let's say it was 6%. We would take 3%. We would make an offer of compensation at 3%. Most of my sellers go, it's not the same way now? That's what we've always done forever. Nope, Cheryl, it's not the same way anymore. So here's the difference is, so now the only thing that I'm going to be negotiating is basically our own commission. We're just going to negotiate our own. We charge 3% to get this level of service. Now, you can still make an offer of compensation if you want to, but let's look at the pros and the cons. So I've been doing this now in this new situation for a year and a half. I've pretty much just from my information, have seen an offer of compensation almost every time. And this is probably the reason why is, guess what, Cheryl? If we don't make any offer of compensation at all, and we basically say it's based on price and terms of the contract, guess what they're going to ask for 100% of the time? Probably 3% or maybe even 4% or whatever, 3%. So I can tell you from experience, that's what happens, okay? And you can still negotiate that at that point as well. Now let's say you made an offer of 2.5% buyer's agent compensation. Guess how many of the times the other agent is just going to accept that 2.5%? Almost 100% of the time.
Right.
Especially if you're negotiating against us. 2.5%. So it almost seems like, I mean, you're going to pay a commission, but we didn't talk about the third one. There are going to be buyers out there that are not going to be able to afford the buyer's agent commission. And we can sit here all day long and talk about, yes, you can negotiate into the contract and things like that, but there are buyers that cannot afford to pay many buyers cannot afford to pay that commission, and they're going to try to structure it in the sales contract and things like that. But one of the things, again, an agent cannot say to the buyer, I'm not going to show you houses where there's no offer of compensation. But you need to be upfront with me. If they're not making an offer of compensation, is that a house that you're going to be interested in? And a lot of times the buyer will direct the agent saying, I can't afford to pay you. If there's no offer of compensation, I can't show it. So guess what? We eliminate that particular scenario by making an offer of compensation. And I will also argue that you may come away with paying less commission anyways if you make the offer up front of just maybe 2.5%. That's just based on my experience. Now, am I steering them one way or another? I don't believe I am. I'm just giving them facts based on my history and things like that. So does that all make sense?
I
Okay,
think it's really dependent upon price point.
100%.
You know, because I've had a higher level cash buyer who they just paid the commission directly to me. But that $180,000 house, that fully limits your buyers to just investors with cash versus first time home buyers with not a whole lot.
My number one goal as a realtor, and by far and away, my number one goal as a realtor is to take friction away from the transaction. I want any friction that could come up in a transaction, I want to eliminate friction, because friction causes deals to fall apart, deals not to get together, and things like that. So my job is to take away friction. And to me, with that, again, I'm totally fine with them if they want to make it no offer of compensation. I'll just negotiate, which one of the things that I do well is negotiate. So I'll take that on all day long. It's just, I believe that a seller does open up more doors by making an offer of compensation. And I think at the end of the day, think about, what's her name, that demanded 3% and said you were horrible because you only offered 2.5%. Someone that had been in the business for a long time. But so I think you eliminate that friction. Does that make sense? So everyone comfortable. And then as far as someone asking me to reduce my commission, it very rarely ever happens. And I'll discuss anything. I'm a businessman. If there's something, if it's a $650,000 to $700,000 house, and they were referred to me or something like that, and we give a family discount, repeat buyers and repeat buyers that become sellers, or we
Buy,
give,
sell in the
yeah,
same.
or just some that we've done business with in the past. I don't even make them negotiate. I'll just say family discounts 2.5% for repeat business. We like to reward repeat business. So, but very rarely, if you do this correctly, do you come across that friction, because they're thinking this, hey, Heidi or Sarah is worth 5% as far as I'm to see. 3% is a bargain. And at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do, right? So step four is that estimation of proceeds. 5 is probably the most important, okay? Or the one that's going to set yourself apart. And that's the value proposition or the marketing plan, okay? This is where you need to separate yourself from other people. So before I go on the marketing plan, I'm going to say, so you've heard me speak and things like that. Who here could kick my ass in a listing appointment? The people that are muted and stuff like that. Okay, oh, Heidi, you're cocky. I like it. So every one of you should raise your hand or say that I can kick your butt, because every one of us has a unique set of talents and has unique value proposition that we can propose to a seller. And you should understand that if you're going up against someone that does 150 deals a year, that sold 5,500 homes and $1.5 billion in sales, that there are going to be things that you can offer that seller that prima donna jackass can't. So you know what I'm saying? But it's up to you to understand those and to be able to articulate that. And like I said, and I don't mean to be blasé about it, or, is that if you don't feel 100% that you're the best person to list that home, I wouldn't walk in the door. If you think that there's another person that they're talking to, another realtor, I can't beat them and stuff like that, don't walk in the door, because you should be able to have that mindset. I didn't get asked how long I'd been in the business until I'd been in the business for 4 years. First time I ever got asked. Sorry, I'm muted. That was the first time I ever got asked, because I was always prepared. I set up expectations. I walked through the house like I knew what the hell I was talking about. When you go over comparable sales and stuff like that, I knew those inside and out. And I would do little, if I didn't know the neighborhood, some of the other stuff we're talking about. but the value proposition is where you really want to stand out. So some different things. And if you want a copy of our value proposition, leave a text or in the chat. Kathy will get the emails.
Throw your email.
And if you want to see our estimation of proceeds, if you want a copy of, I mean, this little outline of what we're talking about right now. So value proposition. So, hey, Heidi. So far, do you have any questions about what we're talking about? Are we good? Are we good on what needs to be done to the house to get it ready for sale? Are we good about price? Do you have any questions about estimation of proceeds? No? Okay. Now we get to the meat potatoes.
I have a question.
Yes.
The question is, at what point do we advise the seller to reduce the price in case we're looking at the markets and nobody's really offering something good?
Well, if you do your job correctly, you don't have to have that conversation. But so we'll talk about that because that's kind of a post listing. So let's go to the marketing. So what you want to do in that situation is typically you set the expectation up front. If you need to do a price reduction, you have a timeline that you normally look at. I don't. So what I do, one of the things in my marketing plan is I say rate in my marketing plan is as far as feedback. Okay. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Yeah. Anyway. So one of the things in my marketing plan, and this Vixen will kind of answer your question, is it says we will get you feedback within 24 to 48 hours of every single showing. Just go back to it. You're not gonna be able to.
Oh, this thing's not.
No.
That's all right.
So I can.
Printing. There, I'll go get it in a minute. You can't talk with if you can't see their face.
Nope.
Oh,
I gotta look at them going, what a jackass, what a prick. So the marketing standpoint is, so now this is where the tires hit the pavement, Heidi. This is what all the things that we're going to do to expose your home to the market. But actually, I just skipped. I'm sorry. I was answering Vixen. You can tell that I'm a little ADD today. I've been on pain meds all week from having a bad back that I threw out. And today's the first day I was able to sit up straight up or stand upright. Vixen, but let me answer Vixen's question before I do it. So what I'd say is we're going to get back to within 24 to 48 hours of every single showing, because Vixen, at the end of the day, guess what? What I think your house is worth, nobody cares. Nobody cares. I, as the realtor, I think the house is. What you, Vixen, thinks your house is worth, it does matter because you've got to feel good about an offer we accept or don't accept. But at the end of the day, what we want to find out is a buyer that's pre-approved with money in their pocket. If they're showing our property, guess what else they're going to show? They're going to show the competition out there. And then we're going to get that feedback to see how we stack up regarding price, condition, things like that. And Vixen, a lot of times I get asked, when do we start looking at a price reduction? Has nothing to do with time. Has nothing to do with the time. If I'm doing my job correctly and I'm getting that feedback, and you're going to see the feedback the same time I am, and we see five straight feedback saying, Dave, you're on crack. That's no way that house should be priced at that price point. Where were you what were you thinking? Then guess what? And that all the first week, are we going to wait 30 days down the road to do a price reduction? No, because guess what? At the end of the day, only one thing matters regarding the value. The market is going to tell you what your home is worth. The market is going to tell you what it's worth. You have to listen to the market. Does that make sense, Vixen? So if you're getting 5 to 7 showings and you don't have any offers, you're overpriced, or the house isn't. There's only 2 reasons a house doesn't sell. Period. It's not rocket science. What we do is not rocket science. Price or condition. Price can always cure condition. Okay? So if you have 5 to 7 showings with no offers, you're overpriced unless the seller wants to put some money into the house. And that's one of the things that we look at too with that feedback. But I also say that's why we make 9 attempts for feedback, because I care about what a buyer that's going to buy right now, what they think. I'm not buying your house right now. It doesn't matter what I think. You're not buying your house right now. That doesn't matter what you think. It matters what a buyer thinks. And then it's up to you to get that information. And typically what ends up happening, the seller calls me, or because we're on regular communication anyways. Hey, Dave, saw that last feedback. We need to bring the price down. If you're doing your job, they'll a lot of times will say, hey, or you're doing one of your regular calls, and then you may make the suggestion, hey, we've had 5 showings. We've been on the market for 2 weeks. No offers. We need to bring the price down. The market. It's not me telling you that. It's the market. The market has spoken. The market is telling you that your house is priced a little bit too high. We need to get in the right price point. Does that make sense? Marketing plan. So when I go over my marketing plan, this is all it is. That's all it is. And you're thinking right now, how the hell does this dude get 90% of his listings? How has he sold over 3,000 listings?
Look at that smirk on Heidi's face. She's like, I can kick his ass.
Yeah, you probably can. If you can present this the same way I can. So do you want me, I know it's 11:56. I can talk fast. Do you want me to go through this real quickly? Kind of how I present it? Does that add any value to you?
Yes, please.
Heidi, my guinea pig?
Sure.
Cool. So Heidi, so let's go over the marketing plan now. So one of the things that we want to do, we want to expose your home in as many places as possible. One of the reasons why I love being a listing agent is my job is to get as many people out there working for me. So the things that we've done and come up with in a marketing plan is to get the information out to all these different places, because I don't know where exactly the buyer is going to come from. I have an idea what my demographic is and who my target buyer is, but a lot of times I'm thrown for a loop and a buyer comes from something else. So what we want to do is we want to put that listing in your home out there in so many places that no one can miss it, period. Here's what we're going to do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to input it to all the different multiple listing systems. So here in Michigan, we have 32 different board of realtors. We have 7 different multiple listing
37.
systems.
Way more than that.
And what I'm going to do is I'm personally going to hand input your listing. No one inputs my listings but David Mueller. 3,000 times David Mueller inputs his listing. My buyer's agents list a property, David Mueller's listing is doing that. Guess why, Heidi? We're in an information society. We want to make sure that information gets out there and it's accurate and it's precise. We're not putting bad information. So let's say they transpose the taxable value of the taxes. It shows the taxes are $137,000. Ain't going to happen on our watch. We're going to make sure that all these different fields are out there, because being an information society, we need to make sure Zillow, Realtor.com, MLSs, everything has accurate information, because buyers want information. They want it now. Does that make sense, Heidi? So I personally am going to do it because the buck stops with me, and that's too important of a role for me to hand to an assistant or anyone else, period. The next thing we're going to do, all professional photography. We're going to make this bad boy look like $1 million house, even though it's, we're pricing it $499,800. We're going to make it look like $1 million house. And I'm not leaving that to, we're not leaving that to amateurs. We're bringing in the pros. So all professional photography, they're going to do photos. They're going to do virtual tours. They're going to do a walkthrough of the property. We're going to do aerials. And guess what? We're also going to make it a showcase listing on Zillow, because your house is so special and we want to get this sold for you that we're going to pull all the extra stops and we're going to get this thing marketed so you get a quick sale. Does that make sense, Heidi? And I don't do does this make sense, Heidi? That's the salesy stuff. And then we're going to have a professionally crafted video too, specifically for your house, that's going to give a buyer's perspective of walking through the house. So someone can almost make a decision whether they want to see it. And you want to know why we're spending so much money on the internet, Heidi? Is because 97% of all buyers are going to decide whether they want to see your house based on the photos and the photographs. So doesn't it make sense to go all out and get all these professional photos and doing all these extra things to get premium photographs. Heidi, have you ever seen those where they're taking a picture of the bathroom and on their iPhone and they're in the photo and it's $1 million house? Won't happen on our watch. Promise you that. The next thing we're going to do is I use Facebook Marketplace. Heidi, I'm old. I admit it. I'm old. I love Facebook Marketplace because guess why? Guess why I love Facebook? Here's why. Go to Amazon, look for a toaster, okay? Then go back to your Facebook feed and guess what you start getting ads of? Toasters. Why? Facebook's smart enough to throw a cookie in you, and so is Amazon. So they're following you around to all your buying habits. Now, how do you think about that from a real estate standpoint? I have an idea who my target market is, what their income is, where they're living, things like that. I can take all that media we just talked about, and I can take it into Facebook, boost the ad, and I can send it directly to who I think my target market and demographic is. So it'll hit their cell phone, it hits their Instagram. I'm not a big Instagram or TikTok person or something like that, but your buyer probably will be. So we want to hit them in all these different avenues. Does that make sense? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to throw it all over the internet with all these photographs. DMA Real Estate, Realtor.com, Facebook, Trulia, Zillow, and over 350 additional websites. There's not a single website you will not be on. You will be on every single one of them. And guess what, Heidi? What do you think is the number one portal for real estate? What's the number one search portal?
Zillow?
Zillow, you're correct. How many million? 225 million unique visitors per month. So guess what we do, Heidi? I spend $12,000 to advertise on Zillow to get premium placement for my listings because, and I get hell from my other realtor colleagues because they're basically saying I'm paying to put myself out of business. And I tell them the Jesse James quote. Jesse James quote. The Jesse James quote of, ask Jesse James, the bank robber, why do you rob banks? Well, I know what the answer is.
That's where the money's at.
There you go. So why do I advertise on Zillow? That's where the buyers are at. And all these other people can piss and moan about Zillow being this, that, and the other thing, and stuff like that. But I'm going to be on Zillow. I'm going to get you on Zillow. I'm going to showcase your house. And I'm going to, all those 225 million people have an advantage. And not to mention that, there's a lot of chances that one of these buyers may be working with one of our buyer's agents because of our presence on Zillow as well. Does that make sense, Heidi? Do the other people that you talk to, do they do those things? I don't say that, but that's what I'm making them think. Oh my God, the last person I talked to, he doesn't do this, doesn't do this, doesn't do this. Plus he's an asshole. So that we use Zillow, we use that as a, again, I have a different view of Zillow than everybody else, but I'm a ROI guy. If I get a positive ROI from doing something, I'm all about it. Okay. The next thing, Heidi, that we're going to do is, hey, before I go over that, Heidi, who knows your neighborhood better than anybody else? Who knows your neighborhood better than anybody else? Not you, your neighbors. And what I've found, Heidi, is I find that the neighbors are one of our best sources of leads because who knows the neighborhood better than anybody else? They could have bought anywhere in the city. They decide to live in this neighborhood, and they are some of our best advocates to find buyers, especially in these multiple offer situations where people are losing out on houses and stuff like that. So when I list the house, Heidi, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out a just listed postcard within the neighborhood saying we just listed this property because I think one of your neighbors may know somebody that might be interested. The other thing that's going to do is going to set you up for future business in that neighborhood as well. You do just listed, then you do just sold. They see the sold sign. So that would also lead into some geographical farming or some circle marketing as well. Does that make sense? Then the next thing, this is a good one, okay? The next thing we're going to do, Heidi, is that we're in a weird job. Heidi, I've got a weird job. I'm in what I refer to as a 90-10 job or profession, where 10% of the realtors do 90% of the business. Then you take a local geographical area, it's probably even smaller than that. I would probably say 5% of the realtors do most of the business in this area. So guess what I'm going to do to attract them, Heidi? I am going to take a brochure and I'm going to send out an email because I've got a list of those top 5%, the top 10%. I'm going to shoot out an email those top 10% because 71% of all realtors didn't sell a single transaction. So I'm not trying to hit everyone. I just want those people that are doing a lot of business that also are known to do business in this neighborhood. So we're going to send them out this information and put it right in front of them. Unfortunately, realtors are lazy by nature. Sometimes you just need to put it right in front of them and they'll see it and they go, oh my gosh, I have a client for that. So I'm going to get that out to them. Next thing we're going to do is I still use feature sheets. I don't know if y'all do. I still print out feature sheets for our listings because we find that a buyer does like those. They like to take their notes. If it's a relocation and they go back to the hotel, they looked at 10 houses, 3 or 4 have feature sheets, you're getting more face time in front of them. So we actually do feature sheets and we'll prepare a professional feature sheet, full color, so that a buyer can have that, so they can reference back to it, take notes, things like that. Most realtors say, it's all on the internet. That's why this is called Be the 10%. 90% of realtors are non-professionals. 10% are true real estate professionals. Be the 10%. That's what that stands for, be the 10%. The 10% are going to do all these different things, okay? And then the next thing we're going to do is we'll have a sign in the yard with an info box attached. And I'm not one of those, don't put the price on, don't do this, that, and the other thing. I think that's a bunch of bullshit in an information society. Put it in the info box, make sure it's there, let them take it, have the price and everything like that, put that on there. And then this is where I'm very different from a lot of people. And we're also going to do an open house. Okay? I love open houses. I personally don't work with buyers. I love open houses because I get true feedback directly from buyers. And then we also have a strategy. And this may come in handy too for listings, okay? We do a strategy where we want to have pictures by Monday. We will go on the market Tuesday as a coming soon. We will get all that advertising, all those different things that we have done between Tuesday, and we'll either start showings on Thursday or Friday, allowing people to start showings either Thursday or Friday. And then we advertise the open house on Sunday from 1 to 3, starting at the coming soon. And the open house serves you in 2 ways. And one of the reasons why we hold off on showings till Thursday or Friday is Heidi, let's say we start showings on Monday and someone writes an offer on Monday. Are you going to be able to wait through that open house to get all that traffic and generate and stuff like that? You could, but you're not going to look professional. And to make someone wait a week to get an answer to an offer, I think is redunculous. Okay. Now think about it by put it on Wednesday, Thursday or Friday, you get an offer Thursday or Friday, and you just kind of say, hey, thanks so much for your offer. Seller wants to make sure that everyone has an opportunity of this house. So we're going to go through the open house on Sunday, and then we'll present, if we have offers, we'll present everything by all offers by 1 o'clock on Monday. That's a reasonable time frame. Okay. And some buyers may wait to do it on the open house rather than see it as a showing. And then the other part about open houses is that's the only time you do not need to have a touring agreement or an exclusive buyer agency contract. And last year we sold 11 houses directly from open houses, an additional 8 from where a buyer came through and then came back with their agent. Okay. So as you can tell, I'm a big believer in open houses. Getting belly to belly. And one last part, I get more listings from open houses that's one of my top sources for getting listings. Man, Dave, you sell 150 to 200 houses a year. We never thought we would see you at an open house. and you're out. But I've had people tell me, we see you out there hustling. You're out there doing open houses from 1 to 3 on a Sunday when you could be home or something like that, and come list our house. And most of those are come list me's. Okay. Now, the last little bit is important, is we kind of talked about that with Vixen, is we kind of went over feedback. Feedback to me is the most important thing in all of this. And I'll say within 24 to 40 hours of every showing, we're going to get that feedback. And for the reasons we talked about, what I think your house is worth, nobody cares. What you think matters. But what we truly want to know is what a buyer that's pre-approved with money in their pocket thinks. Okay. And we want to get that feedback. So we go out of our way, 3 automated emails, phone calls, 3 additional phone text emails, and then we sit another agent or carry on them. We make 9 attempts, and we have a 92% success rate. That's where we're going to get that information. And then we're going to select showing instructions, optimize showings, and fit your lifestyle. Heidi, we understand that you live in the house. We got to make sure that we want you to be comfortable at all times, but you need to work with us and try to make it as easy as possible for us to show. But we know that, hey, you got a life. And so we're going to make sure that we schedule and coordinate this around your life. Okay. And then every Tuesday or every week, we have a meeting. We're going to reinforce your listing and talk about your listing to our agents. Very rarely do we have to talk about it a second or third week, because most of our listings are selling within the first week or two. Lastly, my overall responsibility, Heidi, obviously is to sell the property, but it's also to handle all the details during the marketing period and from sale to close, which includes arranging inspections, getting the appraisal done, get the title work taken care of, getting all contingencies removed, make sure that we connect with the lender on a regular basis, and then arrange closing. That's all a long-winded way, Heidi, of basically saying there's only 2 things you need to do for me. Make the house presentable as possible, make it as easy as possible to show. Can you do those 2 things, Heidi? Everything else we'll take care of. Any questions, Heidi? Ready to rock and roll? That's my close. Ready to rock and roll? Yes, we're ready. 92%.
Heidi, you're in Canada?
I am, yes, Ontario.
Oh, well, you're close.
Hey,
Oh, you're so-
we say it a lot.
I get fun. My kids live in Windsor, and they used to make fun of me for saying roof, or whatever. So any questions about all that information?
Can you
that we
share
went
your
over?
marketing strategy as well with us?
That was the marketing plan. That was the
Yeah,
marketing.
I'll
can you
email.
send that
Oh
too?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
yeah. And again, and what you want to do though is you want to take this and kind of go, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. This is also what I do, as opposed to it. I'm going to more social media stuff or things like that. I'm not a big social media. I'll never be probably relevant on social media. We use social media because you have to be on social media. But let's say you have 10,000 followers on social media, that should be on there. And while I'm going through my marketing plan, you're going, well, I do this and he doesn't do this. And that should be, yeah, seriously, that should be in your mind. And then, so take this and go to your R&D department, rip off and duplicate. Feel free to use anything in here that works for you.
Heidi's going, we have an R&D department? Really cool.
I'm a big believer in don't reinvent the wheel, and success leaves crumbs. And then and then just listen to a lot of different people in their stuff. I'm an old man. So some of these young hip realtors probably have a different thing. Listen to different people's presentations of how they do it, and then incorporate what feels good for you. And also always want to be natural. You always want to be natural and be, yes, genuine, and be yourself. And it's like I'm unapologetically myself. And
He actually is this weird, trust me.
I am. But I'll go into a listing appointment. I'm a jokester, and I'll have fun and things like that. And just to make people, and every person's different though too. Like I said, I'm one of 12 kids, so I learned early on how to, navigate. But it's one of those things where the bottom line is you're trying to get someone that you've never met most of the time, trust and like you, and feel like you have validity and credibility. And make no mistake about this, okay? A listing in a house is probably the largest financial investment that most people have in their life. And when they give you that, they give you that baton and say, take it, take it. It should be a great thrill. To this day, the two things that will make me tear up or cry is when someone calls me and says, "Hey, Dave, I was recommended to you. Come out and list my house." And then or just anytime I get a referral, and someone says, "They said you were the greatest thing since sliced bread." Well, wait a second. They said you said that, but and they said if you call anyone other than Dave, you're on drugs. And that seriously today, in 33 years into this, it's every bit as much of a thrill today as it was when I was 27 years old when I got in the business. So it's something very, I mean, this is not, I make fun that this is not rocket science. It's not rocket science, but this is a big, big thing when someone entrusts you to list their house. Make sense? Questions on anything we talked about? Any questions?
Yes, David. So going back to Vixen's question, I have this home out in it's a Mount Charleston. It's a log cabin. It's kind of a hard niche. The
Yep,
comps are all over the place, from a millions to 500. So
yep.
the home's been on the market for about 5, 6 months now. I did everything that you said. I did open houses, Facebook. I did a property blast, emailing all the brokers in, the
You're
California,
overpriced.
Colorado. Yeah,
You're
okay. So
overpriced. Market's
what
told you
at
you're
what
overpriced.
so do I have that? So when how do I have that
What's your price point
conversation
right
with the
now? What's your price point right
900,
now? What was that?
900,000?
Yeah, so I mean, I mean, has anyone given you feedback as far as what they thought the price should be? Have you had showings on it?
I've had in the past 5, 6 months probably about 10 showings, 10 to 15
What
showings, but no offer.
what was the feedback? Please tell me you got feedback.
Yeah, I got prices too high. They don't like the steep stairs, things like that. Yeah.
So did you tell them, did you ask them what they thought the price should be? I
No,
mean, the
I
hard
didn't
part,
ask.
yeah, you don't have real good comps. Unfortunately, you're just going to have to, now it comes down to competition and motivation of seller. And does the seller need to sell, or is it just something if they get the right price, they need to that they'll sell? Because you're $900,000 $1 million price point, you got to do it at 50 to $100,000 increments. So 950 would be the minimum I take it down to, and you're probably taking it down to 899. Because if
So
you're
so
not,
would I ask the client, like, okay, so it's not, let's say 900,000.
oh,
Do I say,
900,000.
hey, you want to reduce the price to what, 25, 50, or
You want to go down minimum 850. The market's already told you it's not 875, or you would have had an
okay.
offer. So 850 to 800,000 is your next steps.
Okay.
And those are the tough conversations to have. I have to have those too. Sometimes
Okay.
I chicken out and make Kathy do it, but no. But those are tough conversations to have because most of us go in there and saying this is what the house is worth. Now that's one of the things that I'll clarify up front. If there's not a whole lot of good comps, but if it's a seller wants to list it higher than where my comps are, I don't have as much sympathy in those
So
situations.
so would you agree that to put more money into advertising on this property would be a waste of money?
Yes,
Okay.
yep. So, I mean, if you've already done all those different, the only thing would be is if you can get in some type of log cabin magazine or things like that. But if you've got, I mean, I would go into more specialty marketing or advertising. I did that once with a log cabin that we had for and we did it in a specialty magazine, but it ended up not being that. But the other part that it does, if you're willing to spend your own money on that too, is it shows that you're committed to the listing. And I would make sure that my seller knew that I was coming out of pocket to really go full bore in getting it sold.
Okay.
But I mean,
Showing her out how much I came out of pocket kind of would have kind of like helped.
yeah, I mean, I would say, hey, I'm willing. I think what I would do is say, hey, how long of a listing do you have? 6-month listing, 1-year listing?
The
When's listing
contract
expire?
itself.
Yeah, when does listing expire?
So I initially had it at 4 months, and I just renewed it for another 6 months.
Oh, good.
Good.
Yeah, so I would make that. So I think what I would do is say, here's what I'm thinking. And then I would also talk to your broker and to stuff like that, saying, I'm thinking about doing like a log cabin magazine, or would it be a good Airbnb or anything like that? I'd start looking at
Those are vacation homes, yeah,
yeah,
for
so
millionaires.
can you can it be Airbnb and stuff like that? Do you have the zoning for it?
Yes.
I might start looking at more niche type stuff, because that's going to be it's a niche home. I would look into doing niche advertising. I would not be doing spray and pray. I would be doing niche. Going into what I think. The other part too is I'd start running some Facebook ads and looking at the demographics, and maybe it's a log cabin, someone that lives in a log cabin that wants to vacation or something like that. So I would look at maybe I don't know if you can do that as a criteria. Someone that currently owns a log cabin, I don't know.
Okay.
It's smart. It's not that smart.
But I would be looking at niche advertising. What are my niche magazines or things like that?
Websites.
Okay. When you talk about spray and pray, are you talking about mass emails and
Yes.
things like that? Okay.
Yes, it's not
Like your property blast is a spray and pray.
Property blast. I use property blast 3 times on this property.
Yeah, that's spray and pray. I mean, you just throw it out as much as just seeing who will bite. Whereas it's like geographical farming is more targeted type stuff. But this
Okay.
would be a niche. If it was my listing, I would be doing niche advertising. And
Okay.
finding out the
Thank you.
best publications that get the most viewership. And it may not be, it'd probably be more online type magazine or something like that.
Definitely going to be a website.
But I would
But they're out there. They're out there for everything.
Did you ask Chat GPT?
About
Ask Chat GPT or
What's the best place? to
Gemini.
market my-
What's the best way for me to market a log cabin in such and such location?
oh, okay, I'm gonna write that down.
Yep. Go into Chat GPT or Gemini and ask them. And then the other part I would do is I'd also Google, I would just, figure out who my demographic and target buyer is. Is it a second home or is it going to be primary residence? And then I start figuring out my marketing from
What
there.
area are you in? Just curious.
I'm in Las Vegas, and the home that I listed is about 30 miles, 30 minutes away.
So it's 30 minutes from the strip.
Correct.
Yeah, so that would.
So it's a nice. I
Probably a
advertise it as a
vacation.
log retreat, 30 minutes away from the Las Vegas.
I mean, yeah, I'd be advertising in Vegas stuff because that's where the money is.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thank you, David.
all right.
Huh?
Dixon, Kathy will give you a call a little bit. It was nice seeing everybody. Come back for our different ones. Before you go, what would be some other good seminars that you guys would like to hear? What would be some stuff you would listen to us talk about?
Oh, David, can I ask another question? Did you
Yep.
mention like you know how you sell yourself on a 2.5 or 3%, that how much you get, but how do you sell yourself on the buyer's agent?
What do you mean?
Like, do you mention to the sellers that you also gotta give compensation to the
No,
or it's best to give
yeah, we went through the kind of the talk that we have. As I basically just kind of go over, you no longer have to do an offer of compensation. Here's the pros and the cons, and we kind of talked about
Okay.
it as far as
Okay, got it.
it covers all your bases. If you make an offer, I actually think that my personal opinion is I think a seller actually pays less commission when they offer less upfront, because a realtor is going to take that most of the time. And then the other part, it all depends if you're in a multiple offer situation as well. So, I mean, there's so many different factors into it, but the bigger question we get is, or we get it from a realtor and they'll ask us is, why are you only offering 2.5%? And I'll be very blunt with them and saying, I don't negotiate your commission. That's between you and your client. This is what the seller's offering to do. Has nothing to do with the seller myself. That's what they're willing to pay. If you want more than that, that's between you and your client. Has nothing to do with myself or the seller. I don't negotiate your commission. That's up to you to do. We tell them up.
Got it.
And then we still have those conversations. And I'll say, you may want to talk to your broker because this has been in effect for about 1.5 years. And you may want to go take your dinosaur back to the brokerage.
We had one of this not long ago, so we're.
Any suggestions about stuff that you would want to hear an old windbag talk about that has a lot of experience?
I'd listen to anything and everything. This was fantastic. I'm fairly new to Real, so this is one of the first a few that I've joined, and no, this was fantastic. I'll be looking for your guys more. So yeah, any tips and tricks, and
Perfect.
yeah, any of course marketing stuff, social media stuff, even confidence stuff. As a newer agent, I know we're not supposed to say that, but yeah, anything I'm willing to take in.
Mindset stuff's the most
100%.
important thing in the world.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
mindset.
just be aware that confidence comes with practice. And some of us are more confident to begin with, just as our nature. But just like the funny thing is that it was a Lee Trevino thing, and he basically said the harder I practice, the better I get. So it's just the more reps you take, the more confidence you have as you do more market analysis and go over comps and you actually talk to sellers. But your first obstacle you've overcome, because you basically said you can kick my ass, and that's wonderful. That was wonderful, and you can. So you can. It's just get the reps. Go out there and do that, and you've got our digits and talk. You can always get a hold of us and say, "Hey, can I run something by you?" and things like that. We're one big old family. Real Brokers, one big old family. You can contact us anytime. We just love to talk real estate. So, okay.
He just loves to
That's
talk.
fantastic. Thank you guys.
All right. Everyone have a great day. Okay.
Later, Gators.
Thank you,
Thank you.
too, Diz.
care.
Bye.
Bye.